Hello everyone, it is I, Voyage of Paint. This week I am going to be painting a fairy based on the zodiac sign Leo, the sign that is represented by a lion. So that is going to be a very strong theme in this painting. This zodiac goes from around the 23rd of July until the 22nd of August. It's associated with fire and ruled by the sun if you're really into zodiacs. So this will probably be the only zodiac fairy painting that is set during the day instead of the night. I had a lot of fun overall working out this concept. The fairy was going to have some sort of lion-like features along with a sort of belt made of sunflowers. Yes, I am not done painting sunflowers yet. Her wings will be loosely based on the petals of a marigold flower because I thought it would be nice and sort of be something slightly different from my very, very sunflowery phase lately. Since I didn't want the entire painting to be just yellow, orange and red, I put a big blue fiery lion thing behind the fairy and tried to make it look kind of like she's summoning it in a way. And I'm going to, as I said, make it blue to keep everything from melding together, and blue is a sort of complementary colour to orange, so I thought it was going to work well. Spoiler though, I'd get a little lazy with the lion spirit's face and you may need a little imagination to actually see a lion in it. It might look a little like other animals, but I don't really care. Now, let's see what fun Greek myth is behind this zodiac sign. I think we can all guess what story this is going to be. I mean, Leo is literally represented by a lion, which is also why we Germans call it Löwe, because that means lion in German. And let's see, I only know of one very famous lion myth. Okay, I'm gonna stop talking around the bush. It's indeed the famous story of Hercules fighting the Nemean lion as a part of the tasks he had to complete in order to redeem himself from having killed his family thanks to Hera driving him mad. Because Hera can't just let this guy have a normal happy life. No, she has to mess with it wherever she can. Fighting the Nemean lion was his first task. He was supposed to bring its skin back to King Eurystheus, who was the guy giving him all these tasks in the first place. So Hercules sets off to the mountains of Nemea to complete this task. He comes across a town called Cleone, where he meets a young man who is called Molorcus. Molorcus offers to do a sacrifice for a good lion hunt, but Heracles tells him to wait. If he succeeds within 30 days, they would make a sacrifice together to the god Zeus, who technically got Heracles into this mess through his poor impulse control, but I digress. If Heracles was not to return within the 30 days, Molorcus was supposed to do the sacrifice to Heracles as a hero and to mourn his death. Molorcus agrees to this, and Heracles continues on his journey to find the Nemean lion. Of course, Heracles was apparently not aware that the lion's skin was impenetrable, so he picked up a few arrows on the way to kill the lion with, as you do. And obviously he also got a bow, because arrows without a bow would be a little useless. He could try to, throw the arrows at the lion, but I'm not sure it's going to have the same power behind it as with a bow. Anyways, he finds the lion and starts shooting at it, of course, only to find that his arrows bounce off of the lion without causing any harm at all. So he just sort of chased it around the mountains until he drove the lion back into his cave, which has two entrances. Heracles blocked off one of those and then attacked the lion from the other entrance. He essentially basically wrestled with it until it died. I kind of feel bad for the lion. It's another creature that Hera decided to send down to Earth to cause chaos and mayhem and to make Heracles' life difficult. Anyhow, Heracles had to obviously skin the lion somehow after he'd killed it, because the king wanted to have the skin of the lion brought back to him, which was probably not very easy considering its skin was completely impenetrable. So Heracles had a fun time struggling to get it off in the first place, and eventually Athena got tired of watching him fail and came down and was like, just just use a claw from the lion itself. That'll do the job just fine. The fact that he hadn't thought of that himself. Then again, I wouldn't necessarily think of that myself either. Like, why would the claw of the lion itself be able to scratch through its own hide? Although thinking about it, if there is like another lion that is similar to this, maybe in a fight they would have to actually be able to injure each other. That's the only way I could explain it to myself, in a way. But I've only heard of one of these lions with impenetrable skin. If there's another one, in Greek mythology, do let me know. Anyways, he finally gets the pelt off the lion. Hooray! And now he can return to Cleone to first sacrifice something to Zeus with Molochus, as he had agreed with Molochus. And then he goes back to King Eurystheus. And this is where things get a little funny. Eurystheus gets so scared because Hercules actually managed to come back alive from this supposedly impossible task that he was like, yeah, you're not allowed to enter the town anymore. Just leave your stuff that you get back from the quests outside the gates next time. And from this point on, King Eurystheus doesn't give Hercules his tasks in person, but rather through a messenger. Kinda sounds a bit pathetic that he would be this scared, but then again, he was trying to send Hercules on a quest that could have gotten him killed. So I kinda get why he'd react this way, but come on, dude. Hercules has to complete your tasks anyway. He can't just kill you. At least, not yet. This is so over the top. And just to be extra sure that Hercules was not going to come in and murder him or something, King Eurystheus decides the best thing to do is to ask his servants to make a big bronze urn buried in the ground so that he could jump into it and hide whenever Hercules does end up coming into the castle for some reason. I mean, technically he should, considering King Eurystheus is the guy that's setting his tasks, but he's too scared. Scaredy cat. And they're like, poor Hercules. First, Hera gets him to kill his entire family. And then he ends up with this guy as his sort of taskmaster person. I feel so bad for him. Like, first he has to do these tasks and now he's not even allowed to enter the city anymore, simply because he completed the task he was set. Talk about double standards here. Kings are weird. Now, Hercules has a lovely lion skin, which is impenetrable, and he decided to wear it as a sort of armour that could keep him safe from the weather and pretty much all weapons that may or may not be used against him, although it seems that at least the Nemean lion's claws do penetrate this skin, so I guess it's not all weapons it's going to be warding off, but at least most. And that was the end of the Nemean lion's story, which now has to hold out forever as a coat for Hercules to keep him warm and safe from most regular weapons. Fun times! Let's talk about the painting then. I started the sketch with the fairy herself. Her pose gave me a little struggle, but only a little. Particularly the legs were difficult to get right. I eventually got that though after I found some references for the sort of pose that I wanted. Essentially, I wanted her to look a little like she's summoning this big blue fiery lion that I've put behind her. With the lion, as I've mentioned at the start, I got a little lazy and I only sort of made sure it looked right. I think the lion's face might be just a tad bit too long, but it's fine. The fact I got lazy meant, however, that the rest of the lion is literally just a big chunk of swirls, because fire still looks cool, but, I could have done something, I guess, a little more detailed with it. The fairy has some very bushy brown hair, 2 lion ears, and a lion tail to get at least some lion elements into her design. She also gets the symbol that represents Leo onto the side of her trousers. And then after I managed to ink the painting, I essentially started to fill in the colours with my Van Gogh palette again. And I don't know why I thought this was going to be a good idea, but thanks to both the sunset in the background and the lion that's immediately behind her, I had basically 2 different coloured light sources behind her. And I had to deal with that somehow. I think I managed to get it right. Like, it looks good in the end. So the first layer was basically just me trying to figure out the lighting behind her. I only painted around the fairy then to make sure I know what colours are going to be lighting her up from around her, basically. The lion I painted in cerulean blue and then lemon yellow sort of around the sun. Towards the top of the painting I decided to have the sky turn a sort of purple, which I achieved by using a lot of different colours from my palette. On top, at first I put some indigo, then came some permanent blue violet and carmine, a little mix from the orange shades on the palette, and around the sun I kept it to lemon yellow. And I also dragged my brush away from where I wanted the sun to be to sort of resemble sun rays, but I kind of I don't know, it didn't go as planned exactly. Like, I had to use a paper towel in the end to make sure the paint doesn't leak back into the areas I wanted to be lighter. The details of the lion I painted in some phthalo blue, some indigo. The fairy I first did a sort of little layer of me establishing where the lighting was going to be hitting her. So some of the edges I painted in yellow, and some of the other parts of her I painted in a little blue to make sure I knew that that's where the lighting is hitting her. And since the lion is sort of above and behind her, it's also coming from behind her, so it's kind of illuminating her that way. And obviously the lion wasn't just going to be illuminating her, it would also illuminate the ground underneath him, so I also did that in cerulean blue. And then, I also sketched in some trees behind in the background where there was some space, like in front of the sun. I first do that with a little bit of lemon yellow, then go over that with burnt sienna, and then finally try to add some shadows with sepia, and then the leaves in a green that I don't remember which one it was. It might have been hooker green or sap green. I don't remember exactly, and I should have written it down, but again, I didn't write it down. I just chose to try and remember it as well as I could. The fairy's hair is also done in burnt sienna, and I think for her clothes I used a kind of mix of burnt sienna and yellow ochre. Again, I didn't write it down, so, take it with a grain of salt, but this is the best I can do. I also had this idea of making her tip of the tail that she's got in a sort of yellow-orange light, like it's also fiery, flamey. Just thought that maybe some fire elements to this might be very fun, considering she's also got the fiery line behind her, and I thought, let's get some more fire in here. She just doesn't have enough fire. And then we have the bushes. I gotta say, I kind of slightly struggled a little bit in the end, because at the beginning, in the background, when I mapped out loosely where the bushes were going to go, I didn't really pay attention to perspective in a way, so I had to figure all that out later on when I added in the greens. In the end, it does look fine, in my opinion. It's okay. Could have done a better job with it, obviously, but this is pretty okay. Then there's also, after all the painting is done, I decide, let's get some sparkly inks into this. So I took out my silver and gold ink bottles, and I gave both of them a good shake, because with these Winsor Newton inks you have to shake them before you can use them. The stars of a constellation that I have inked at the start of the painting, I coloured in with the golden ink and connected them with the silver ink, but you know me, I like a good sparkle, so I added it everywhere. I added little swirly lines of silver inside of the fiery lion, some highlights in gold on the fairy and the trees and the bushes, and silver stars in the sky. I had a lot of fun. I went all out with all of this, and I am really, really happy with how that went for me. And then the painting is done. I sign it and put the date, which in this case is still July, because I have painted this quite ahead of time, though at the time of me recording this voiceover it is August. So, Anyways, let's take a look at the final result together now, shall we? While I like the way the painting looks overall, I'm very proud of the lighting scenario, for example. I think the sky could have been a little darker towards the top, and perhaps I should have put in a little more effort into the lion spirit itself. Otherwise, I'm really proud of the way that this painting looks. It's very, I don't know, pretty? That's one way for me to describe this. I'm very proud of the way I handled the lighting, and for once I didn't forget a single highlight, and while it may still need some work in some areas, this painting was really fun, and in the end that's all I really care about when it comes to this. Thank you for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed watching this video, be sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel, and check out my social media links down below. As for now, I am the Witch of Paint, and I shall see you all next Sunday. Bye! Oh, look who's made it to the end of the video. You're probably here for the outtakes, aren't you? Well, I do have one, because apparently I was very professional this time around, but I do have one outtake for you, so have fun! Hello everyone, it is I, the Witch of Paint. This week I have decided to... I just realised the window is still open.